Hello, Louisville. Guess who's coming to dinner? It's Monday, and welcome to Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. I am your host, Janice Carter Miller, and stuff is going on everywhere. Well, my husband told me, said they fired Tucker Carlson. Not a minute too soon. But they also fired Don Lemon. What? Said he said something inappropriate. Well, I have to look into that. We have to keep up with what's going on in the world and in our city. And in our state, they hired Mr. Cosgrove up in Carrollton County, Kentucky. Now, Mr. Cosgrove was the LMPD officer whose bullet killed Breonna Taylor. So he is now working in Carrollton County Sheriff's Department. They tried to sneak that one in, but I think they're getting wind of it up northern Kentucky. We'll see how that plays out. And another man was on the news. He says, if someone was working at a school and they found out he was a pedophile, would you let him work in schools again? No, but you let this police officer. They said because he wasn't charged, that's why the sheriff felt good about his hire. That's not going to last. And our fabulous Tennessee 3 were at the White House with Joe Biden today. I want to find a way that I can speak to the two Justins, because the Justins wasn't playing, down in Tennessee. They were serious. And how do you get expelled from the assembly, the General Assembly, the state assembly, because you are protesting against the use of guns that are killing our children? We better wake up real soon. But today is a special day. Today is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Now, this young man, I told you a couple of weeks ago that the whole month of April have been guests that I met at the Black Professional Mixer that Dr. Nikki Lanier puts on. It was down at Joe's Palm Room. And just as I was about to leave, I don't know what about him caught my eye, what about me caught his eye, but we connected with our eyes and we spoke to each other. And he was telling me that he was from Chicago, but he's been here in Louisville for a while. So it says a lot that a brother from sure enough Midwest is down in halfway southern, want to be more Midwest Louisville than anything. I think I'd like to think we're more Midwestern than we are Southern, but we got a whole lot of Southern characteristics that go along with our state. Not our city so much, just our state. Please welcome my guest for the day, Mr. Joe Franklin. What's up, my brother?
Hey, Miss Janice, thank you for having me. I am happy to be here.
You were just a ray of sunshine. That's all I can say.
It takes one to know one, though, right? Isn't that how it works?
You peeped it. You peeped it. So tell the audience a little bit about yourself. You said that you were from Chicago. How did you get to Kentucky?
Yeah, so for me, I'm a big proponent of history, so I like to zoom out, then zoom in.
Okay.
So if I may, I have to say that I'm a product of the Great Migration, right?
Okay.
Because my grandparents, my grandmother, her people were from Alabama, and then my granddad, his people were from Mississippi. Everyone wanted to move up north for the jobs, right?
Right.
And from that, I was heavily involved in all the schools I went to on the South Side in elementary. They were really big on having Black professionals and Black teachers there. So amazing Black women have, taught me my whole life, and a lot of those individuals ended up they were actually alumnus of or alumni of HBCUs. So we did a lot of HBCU tours in Chicago. So whether it be within the church systems, or whether it be after school programs, it was just a big movement that was about us knowing more about our culture and getting exposed to those universities. So go figure. My first HBCU tour, I actually toured Kentucky State University. That's not when I made my decision though. So it's so crazy how things work. I was
Okay.
with my best friend. At that time, I was supposed to be going to college and, thinking I'm going to college in Milwaukee, trying to be there with my, puppy love with my then girlfriend. And the school was too expensive. My best friend came to K State. He told me, hey, you know what? Come on down to visit. I came down for Alpha Week, got to see the Pro Bay, watched the baseball game because he was playing baseball. And I was like, yeah, I'm coming here. So that's when I made my decision to come to
Okay.
Kentucky State University. And from there, I got so involved in school, did a lot of different things. And next thing you know, I'm here in Louisville. So I can tighten that up too, but trust me, it's been so fun, within this process.
And so um, that's what we have in common. We're both thoroughbreds.
Yep.
And you were the president of the student body.
Yeah. That I would say that was one of that honor actually really it hit me very hard because to be elected amongst your peers and
Absolutely.
to have something, and don't get me wrong, we were still, kids at the time where everyone's not necessarily thinking about the importance of the student regent piece, but to actually be on the board of regents
Right. Right. I
and
saw that.
then simultaneously serving the student body. I mean, that was that's one of the accomplishments that still weighs really heavy in my heart. And I'm just honored to have, been in that space. And especially having done such, I also served 6 years in the Kentucky Army National Guard. So I was a part of the Kentucky Army National Guard at the same time I was, in doing the student body president and servicing, and I should say serving within like the Student Government Association. So yeah, it was a great time, and also became an alpha during that time as well. So we had a lot of fun.
Wow. So you were in a part of the National Guard,
Yep,
going to school, president of the student body, and in the a student regent.
absolutely.
That
And I
had
was
to be an experience in itself. That level of organization
yeah.
about in the school system.
It's interesting when you say that because I really believe in my heart, and it's so crazy to me because some people don't like to give credit to an outside entity. I think that any success that I've been able to have, yes, I will credit myself. Like I'm not going to downplay the skills that I've built and the things I've learned and like how
Mhm.
I have to like show up, but I was always a part of these organizations or these entities that were around way before I was. So I was taking on that DNA from those organizations, those core values,
Right.
like being able to learn more about myself as I was in those spaces.
Right.
So HBCU, what 1886, right? Then
Right.
1906 with Alpha Phi Alpha, the military, 1700s, right? Like I have been a part of those entities that genuinely had a lot of successful, I would say, use cases, right? Like a lot of successful people that they've been able to produce. And I just think through osmosis, I was able to just like take on a lot and learn a lot within that. So yes, I mean time management. I was very social. I was a very social student body president.
I can
Time
well,
management.
I can tell that big smile that you have. It's a main attraction, believe me.
Thank you, thank
It's a
you,
main attraction.
thank you.
The other thing is being from Chicago. Now, I've got those same kind of roots.
Yep.
My mother came to Kentucky from Mississippi, from Vicksburg.
Okay, Vicksburg.
Okay,
Yeah,
Vicksburg, Mississippi. But she went to school right up the road from Kentucky State. There's the Whitney M. Young. I think it's the Job Corps
yep,
now. but before it was called Lincoln Institute, which was a Black boarding school.
Mm.
Okay. And it was an offshoot of Kentucky State and Berea College. Okay. Now imagine this little 14-year-old, because she came her freshman year. Now, when my mother turned 90, Joe, I was trying to find some pictures of her in high school, right? And I started looking at, you know, how you do your yearbooks online.
Yep.
And I said, I'm looking for, see if there's any pictures of my mother. And I saw a class picture, and I found my mother at the top. My mother was high yellow because granddaddy is of another persuasion.
Yeah.
I saw in the caption, it said, class president, E. Monroe. And I said, my mother was her class president. Look, this little girl just came from Mississippi. How'd she get to be the president?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But so I feel that I understand what you're saying when it's in your DNA, because her mother died when she was 8, but her grandmother, who was a school teacher, kind of brought her up along with her siblings.
Yeah.
And so that was in her DNA to president. I mean,
Absolutely.
what made her run?
You know, that's it. That is it. When it's in you.
What are your aspirations?
It's so many things that I want to accomplish. Actually, that I'm intending to accomplish in this lifetime. I would do this. I'll give you something qualitative first.
Okay.
I want to do it while embracing like these things, like a smile. Like I understand there's a journey to get there, but I think that we can smile along the way. And I think that if the tears do happen to come, right, because we're human, then guess what? You can smile after the tears. I'm a firm believer of that. So now, from an actual what do I plan to actually achieve, right? That standpoint. Well, I'm in the midst of launching a few different businesses.
Okay.
And ultimately, I'm here to be a bridge. Like for me, seeing some of the things that I've saw coming up, I didn't understand why the world was so disconnected, disjointed. Always thought person to person, like why can't we just at the minimum have more conversations, even if we don't disagree? Even if we disagree about things. So all of the work, everything that I've learned, oriented myself towards, has been about bridge building. So if I can say the most lofty thing that I'm intending to do is put forth the effort to be a pioneer within the human capital management space. So essentially, as the world becomes more personalized, well, how do we allow these personal skills and these abilities to show up where people can actually reap value from them through the means of employment or the means of creating an economic interest for themselves? So that's something I'm very much so interested in doing, because I believe that if we get that right, then we impact positively like crime rates and things of that nature. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Though I start with the qualitative because sometimes when we go towards the goals, sometimes people feel like they can't smile in that journey because it is arduous, or maybe they some people like to cry in behind closed doors. Now, if the tears come, I'll let them flow. But I'm not stopping. It's not about crying to quit. It's about just embracing what you see and what you feel, and then understand what connects you to your purpose. And that's for me. I just want to show up big and just really be human in the process. Like really give myself permission to be human as I run towards these goals that are way bigger than me.
And be present. But what you were saying about the smile and the tears made me reflect back to Brother Frankie Beverly.
Oh yeah,
joy and pain.
It's like sunshine and rain. That's it.
It's part of life.
That's it.
And now one of the things that I've noticed in a lot of my conversations with my guests has been that we're being a lot more intentional.
Yep.
And being intentional says a lot for who you are and where and the path that you're directing for yourself, because you
Yep.
got the higher powers that are moving you, because your path has already been laid out for you.
Yep.
You're just finding the different steps that you have to take. If you take two steps over here and you should have went that way, you will get back over there, because now I see something else that you were a part of that I'm very interested in. So I want you to tell me about being a Bingham Fellow.
Yeah. So, all right.
Yes.
To give you some context too,
Okay.
I got to Louisville in 2014. Started my career working within technology and got heavily involved in like helping people land career opportunities.
Okay.
So about 6 years into that, so we're pulling up to about 2019, around 2019,
So
2020.
you were like a headhunter?
Well, essentially, that was it, right? That was the staffing. So it was the staffing business, which we affectionately know as headhunting, right? You find them and then you get paid by being able to place that individual. But the cool thing about the company that I supported there, they were international company where, multi-billion dollars, where they had offices in over 120 cities, 40 different states. So once again, taking on some of that organizational DNA, being
Mhm.
able to connect, with these different leaders in different markets, understanding that, hey, the way we put people to work in Louisville is a little bit different than San Francisco. Okay, well, how are they doing it in London, not Kentucky, but the UK, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Boston,
Yeah.
Massachusetts, right? So I'm over here like legitimately learning more about the industry. Now, it's not specifically helping me day to day operationally in the city, but we all know that a lot of the trends are set in the boundaries, right? So from you got the East Coast, West Coast, and it comes to the middle. So I always was preparing myself to like know what was going to be needed within this industry. And then
Okay.
from that, I noticed that the only type of training that I saw from a localized standpoint that could even say it was akin to some of these amazing training that I've seen in some of these other markets was
Mhm.
at Leadership Louisville. And that's when I got involved with the Ignite program. So
Okay.
got involved with Ignite and like I think it was a pandemic. And then from that, you know, God's grace, I get Louisville Business First 40 under 40, and I'm just feeling great. And when I'm feeling great, that's when I take on very bold steps. And because I just feel like it was written, right? Like I feel like this is the calling. I don't believe in status or power without thinking about what is the job that needs to be done and what's the responsibility within it.
Mhm.
And so I noticed that there was always a disconnect. Like I was 33 years old at the time when I got done with all of those programs. And when I applied to Bingham Fellows, I looked at the last class and I was like, hey, everyone in here has a title. You could tell people more than likely have been in their careers for about maybe 15, 20 years, if not longer.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I think that we need to have a representation of more of the youth
Mhm.
of the young professional, but the young professional that understands leadership from an international perspective. And
Okay.
so I
Okay.
applied, I got in. It was the best experience of my professional career, being able to be immersed within like those esteemed group of leaders that are impacting our city at a high level. So that's a long story, but for me, um, to know one of my good friends now, I was like, hey man, I don't have a title. He said, hey, but you have a name, and that means a whole lot more. And just to know that they welcomed me and they saw me, and we were able to push out some very tough work within a 14-month time frame.
They
Which was
embrace,
pretty proud.
they embraced you because you've got that kind of aura about yourself,
Well, thank
that
you,
you're easy to embrace. And that
thank you.
and when you're one of those people that probably doesn't meet any strangers, because something was happening and you kept looking at me, and I left my wine at another table, and I don't
Yeah.
know, something like that. But what I want to say to you is, by my uh, as an older individual who has been around for several years, far more than you,
Who's
that
old?
I am interested in going after the Bingham, becoming a Bingham Fellow. I really am, because I want to know the inner workings. I've been an entrepreneur. An international jazz singer, and
Yeah,
I've been around the world, and I've lived in Paris, and I've lived in New York, and I've lived in LA, and I've lived in Las Vegas. So I've got the whole global thing kind of down. That's in my DNA.
yeah,
But the things that I want to do with my business, and take it to another level where I am reaching more people, and my mantra is help me help you, help
yeah.
me help you. That's my Jerry Maguire. It's not show me the money. It's the help me help you. Just help me and I can help you. And if we perpetuate that, then look at what we can make happen.
That's it.
You
That's
know,
it. No, I love that. I love that, and I recommend the program for you. I think you'll shine brightly as you always
14
do.
months.
Yeah, it was initially it was supposed to be a 13-month run, but we added a little extra time.
So
Um,
so many hours a week. Give me an idea.
yeah, so the time commitment is interesting, right? Because it differs from team to team. So you have like a 40 person plus cohort. Then you divide those teams up into typically three or four. And our group, we took on we took on a lot from an ambiguity standpoint. We were the group that was oriented towards the artist. So also often, like, we had a
I should
recurring
have been
meeting,
there.
right? We had a recurring meeting weekly. Then had to break that up into subcommittees. And often when we took our work back, we had the beautiful gift of a lot of feedback, right? Like a lot of times, like when we were taking our information to others to
Mhm.
assess not our performance per se, but like more so like to just kind of like see where we are from
Your direction, if you were going
yeah,
in the
it's
right
just the
direction. Okay.
direction. Exactly. It just wasn't clear. So we got the beautiful gift of feedback, like, hey, can you make this edit? Can you do this? So then the inherent challenge was that, like, hey, now we need to spend a little bit more time because we all knew what we were talking about, but we had to make sure that we communicated that effectively to those that may not necessarily understand where we were coming from more of an artist lens. And so it's a strong time commitment, but for me, so much well worth it. But it will vary depending on the team, right? I do know that we had the cadence that was the most established. Like our cadence was like, all right, weekly meetings, we're rolling. Everyone didn't do that.
Right.
Yeah,
There was a different kind of commitment that,
yeah,
that
yeah,
you all
and
had,
it's
because I saw
all.
that
Mhm.
you did something that had to do with, like, I guess maybe bringing downtown Louisville back.
Yeah, so everything should have been catered to downtown revitalization.
Okay.
That was the theme in total. But then you start to have like projects that are broken up into different segments of that. So ours was more catered towards like a process improvement between certain entities that we didn't have any ownership over. So
Okay.
that's where it can get a little tricky
Okay.
because some of the other teams, like with the Melanair Marketplace, we all love what Nation is doing there.
Right.
Nation was actually a part of the group, is the Melanair Marketplace.
They Shan's been on this show.
Yeah, it's so awesome, right? So
Yes.
like that, a great point of reference, ready to roll. It's there. All right, how do we just make this better? Then you have city spots where you got some of the greatest leaders in the city that actually are some of the decision makers over what happens in those certain areas or the territories in which we're going to be working towards, like creating like these avenues where people can go downtown and enjoy themselves comfortably, right? But they had a lot of decision making power within that, and that was a blessing, right? And then for us, we wanted to like take on like the ambiguous process that it is, where like, hey, if you want to have any type of activation, well, why is it that some people can get through quicker because they know someone? How can we democratize the information? How can we set some steps in place where say, hey, if you don't know this, well, then you know exactly what you need to do to at least figure, this next step out. And
Yeah.
we had to go between a lot of different entities within the city to get a lot of different feedback to go on this thing that we called a listening tour to just understand, like, hey, how do we even usher this in? So that the inherent task was different. Everyone works extremely hard. Everyone had their own unique set of challenges. But we had the artist focus group, so of course it had a little extra like passion and zest to it.
It sounds like when I lived in Las Vegas for 35 years. And when I came back home, um, and my mother was telling me, 4th Street Live.
Mhm.
And my brother, we both had moved out west and we both were home together. So we took a trip to 4th Street Live. Well, in that one block,
Yeah.
we got back in the car and I said to my brother, well, they shouldn't call it 4th Street Live. They should call it 4th Street Lie. This is a lie. There was nothing down there for us, for Black folks. I said, not a restaurant, not a t-shirt shop. Not a barber shop, not anything
Mhm.
that identifies our culture or something that would cater to us. Make when people come to Louisville want to go to 4th Street Live, especially Black folks. And how much bourbon can you drink? Drink.
Right.
So it seemed to me that the Carnish group that was over that, and then they had a Black um, music day once during the year. They had something for Black folks, to
Yeah.
come down to enjoy 4th Street Live. Look, I still say call it
Yeah.
4th Street Live. But in figuring out the dynamics of our city, you found out, number one, how segregated we are, right?
Yeah.
Except at a football or a basketball game.
Mhm. Yeah.
And and what you said to me, I had an idea for an initiative, Joe. It was
What's that?
called just say hi.
Mm.
Just say hi is if you make eye contact with somebody, speak. In essence, if you're on the highway and you accidentally, because a lot of times people cut people off, it's an accident. They didn't
Yeah.
see you, but instead of flipping them off, wave.
Yeah.
Say hi. Because Greg Fisher and I were really good friends. We still are really good friends. And he was talking about Louisville being a compassionate city. I said, where do you get that from? How did we get so compassionate? I mean, we're very philanthropic.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of nonprofits here.
Yeah. Very philanthropic, but I don't know about that whole compassionate thing. Because we have an underlying current that has persisted in the cities for as long as I've been alive,
Mhm.
and so now we're at a point where we're trying to pivot. And I think one of the good things about COVID, which came along at the same time with, the good and the bad at the same time with the deaths, me seeing somebody die on TV,
Yeah.
me watching a white man kill a Black man on television,
Yeah.
Brianna losing her life, all of the police homicides
Yeah.
uh, made me look at things differently, and I wanted to facilitate a conversation about how we got there, how we can fix it just by a humane humanitarian approach to socializing.
Yeah.
Because Louisville is as social as it gets. Have you noticed that? We're a very social city.
Yeah. in all parts of town.
Yeah.
All
And it
parts
ain't
of
just
town.
black folks, white folks is just as social as we are.
Yeah,
But
all parts
so
of town.
it's wondering why that we haven't been able to connect the two.
Yeah, it's like a chasm, in
Mhm.
place. Like what is it? And it's interesting too because for me, I'm willingly I'm I will willingly let people know that I've had some blind spots. So so many of the things that maybe others have held close to their heart that has not allowed them to open up to others.
Mhm.
Maybe I just didn't see it. I just didn't know. So there's like I'm an individual that has, talked to, like you said, I've never met a stranger,
Mhm.
all walks of life, been invited places from all different groups of people.
Mhm.
And it took for me to be a part of the Bingham Fellows for me to slow down. First of all, count my blessings though, live in gratitude
Okay.
because it is a blessing that whatever that was, that blind spot, like it unlocked a lot of meaningful interactions. But I had to, take a step back, moonwalk out of that thing,
Mhm.
and say, well, Joe, that's not representative of a broader community.
Right.
And that's like for me right now to live in gratitude, to like essentially I'm in a space of like wanting to cultivate and hone like my blessing
Okay.
and be very, very intentional, going back to that word, with understanding and deeply listening as to, all right, if I'm talking to 60-year-old white male that doesn't feel as if they would be received in a certain community, well, why is that? And then
Mhm.
I'm talking to my friends, well, why do you feel as if you can't have a conversation with 60-year-old white male in the novice community? Let me deeply listen to that. And then I think this is what we can get be a part of, like building this bridge, because everyone's feeling is valid, but it doesn't mean that it needs to stop like progress or actions towards change. So how can we, ensure that people feel validated from a feeling perspective, but don't feel as if actions need to be um, feel as if like there should not be subsequent actions to
And
help
there should
build that
be.
progress,
There
right?
should be. I'm going to give you an example. I won't, because this is about me, you telling your story. But
Hmm.
I like the exchange because um, the gentleman that was running for mayor,
Yeah.
I was on the editorial board at Wave 3, and I met the mayor of J Town.
Okay. Yeah.
And we were talking about, in one of our meetings, we talked about uh, the segregation in the city. And I had an idea, and he came to my house. Now, I used to own the house that was when you come in Chickasaw Park and you come over the first um, flood wall, there's
Hmm.
a long ranch house sitting there.
That's
I
yours.
lived there.
That was yours. Okay.
That was mine.
Awesome.
So he came to my house. But see, I had to leave because I was going to hurt somebody. They was trying to drive them dirt bikes and stuff on my yard and stuff. It got real crazy. Uh, I had an idea that every council person would take 5 to 10, or invite 5 or 10 of their constituents to another part of the city, to a business, restaurant, someplace, because we gotta have some alcohol and we gotta have some chicken wings.
That's it.
I'm so sick of that. But anyway, that we could socialize together.
Yeah.
And then they would do the same. They would all the districts out east could come down west, which would help promote those businesses at the same time, to find out, because one of the places where we were at Joe's Palm Room.
Yeah.
Now Joe's Palm Room I inherited from my mother. Okay.
That's
And
awesome.
when I got my first year of teaching school for JCPS, I had to tell my mother, because she was still after work, still going to Joe's. I said, Mama, I like Joe's. I said, but I ain't trying to push you out, but so we made it. Joe's used to have a matinee on
Mhm.
every Friday. And some of the things that that happened in this city that worked, white folks rushed to Joe's to get a seat before black folks could get in. You hear me?
Wow. That's a wow.
You hear me? At
Yeah.
5 o'clock, at 5:30, it was packed, and it was a mixed audience. The band started to play. That band finished at 8 o'clock. My mother would go home. I would stay for the next band. So then that would be my crowd, just like now. We leave before it's dark. The older crowd,
Yeah.
us OGs, we would leave before it gets dark. Come straight after work, meet everybody else that's still working or retired now, you know. And that was our socialization. But Joe Hammonds himself was the catalyst because he was a businessman. And I mean, he had his first Joe's Palm Room was on 13th and Magazine, which would be the back of A.D. Porter,
Okay.
down right close to Central High School.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, I'm 3-4 years old. His place was still the place to be in the West that white people came to listen to the music and socialize. And it was not an issue. I can't tell you of any issues, any killings, any shootings, any fights, anything that happened at Joe's Palm Room. And there was a mixed crowd. Because so we had the chance to do that. We have to work on that again.
Mm-hmm.
We have to work on that again, because even when I lived in Las Vegas, I have a lot of white girlfriends. I had not one here, but maybe Barbara Sexton Smith might be one of my girlfriends here.
Okay.
I got a neighbor, one of my girlfriends, but I'm used to mingling.
Yeah.
I have no problem going off the grid, and watching what happened at that Black professional mixer was very enlightening to me. And I was very proud of what I saw. I said, oh, we got a group up in here. It looks like we're getting ready to be a little bit progressive.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what I see that the city can be with people like Joe Franklin.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you. I mean, and I'm thinking about just places that we've been though, so it's like you start to factor in, you've lived in many different cities, lived, abroad, traveled abroad. I've never lived outside of Chicago and Kentucky, technically, down in Georgia when I was in training, but I've traveled a lot. So like 38 different states. I think about 6 different countries, few different continents. And every time I go on vacation or anywhere, I'm speaking to people. Or even somebody may say this is not the safest thing to do, but the beauty and the benefit of growing up in inner city Chicago, riding public transportation, the different places, I don't feel like a foreigner when I'm in another city. Like I hop on the Charlie in Boston, or the Metro, or the MARTA down in Atlanta, or the BART in Oakland. Like I will hop on these, and that's how I get around the city. And I think that what that does is it gives me a little bit more of like that fabric of how the city moves. And then I talk to people, whether go to certain restaurants and barbershops. So you take into these experiences, and if this has been my headquarters, right? This has been my hub since 2014. Essentially, all I'm doing is seeking out these new experiences.
Right.
Like I'm wondering, like, all right, and I just think that when we can do something like lock eyes with each other and then get into a part where we, get to know each other within the first 5 minutes of a conversation, I think that we both are conversing from all of these lived experiences that we would never know that we had together. But it's just something that's within us. Right. And so when I hear myself say that, I'm thinking about people who love Kentucky and don't necessarily want to vacation everywhere that's not like Destin, Florida, or they don't want to go to all these other countries. Well, I still think that there's still so much to glean from others, and there is a certain level of openness that one would need to have in order to have, just like you said, just say hi or have a cup of coffee or have a conversation.
Right.
And for me, if you think that I'm a part of that journey of us moving it forward, then this is my. I don't want to ask people to go run a marathon or a 10K or no. I just want you to like take a step. Can we take a step together? I
Right.
think that the baseline, just being open to why other people would like to travel, like these other environments,
Yeah.
why we're looking to move new things into the city, just being open to like that type of information, and then just trying to seek out one other person or go to a restaurant you've never been to, go support Black coffee, go
Right.
support brew coffee. And then these things naturally happen if we are very intentional with just doing something a little different, and then just being okay with being a little bit open, nothing too crazy, but just a little bit open.
Yeah. It's it's nice to hear you look at it that way, because that's exactly, I say a conversation. I'll strike up a conversation. If I'm thinking something and somebody's standing next to me, if a lady looks nice, if I today I went to the doctor's office and I held the door,
Yeah.
for a woman pushing her husband. I saw them coming out of the office and I had gotten on the elevator. And so it was like she thought she had to run, but I was holding the door for her.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
And then it's a conversation when you can strike up a conversation over the smallest, most menial thing,
Hmm.
but then it can flow into a conversation, and a conversation with other people is the beginning. That's where we start. And when I started this podcast, it was like the newscasters were saying, "Well, is now a good time to have the conversation about race?" I said, "Well, I'm talking to the TV. Absolutely, it's absolutely time, and I want to facilitate that conversation."
Yeah, absolutely.
So then I come up with this. Guess who's coming to dinner? Sidney
Yeah.
Poitier.
Sydney 48. That's
Hey,
it.
so what better example of conversation than that movie?
That's it. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's been an exciting. I'm going into my. This is it'll be 3 years in October that I've had this podcast. Now my numbers, I don't know how great they are or are not, but what I've gotten from it, I know people are watching. I'm not like that one little girl says, "See, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, click, click, click." I'm not doing all that. You know, Word of mouth. You'll find me. My presentation represents me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if I just keep, I'm like the little train that could. I just keep chugging, chugging along, and it has gotten better. I mean, I had the guy that used to be the general manager of Wave Three. I saw him at an event
Hmm.
last week, and he says, "Janice, you have really good guests." I said, "You watch?" He said, "Oh yeah." He said, "You have great guests." And I'm saying, because was trying to put the show on Wave Three.
Oh, so you pitched it, huh?
Oh yeah, well,
Okay.
I pitched it, and then it was like I knew I wasn't really ready,
Hmm.
but I'm still ready, because not even am I looking just local. I need national. I need like Roland. I need like what Tavis used to have.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I like to talk to different people from all walks of life.
Yeah.
And then when I'm feeling it, when I get it where I want it to be, then I throw my music in there. And all the music folks I know, and bring them along. And special, I got a segment called Musically Speaking.
Okay.
So that's who all the people that I met in my walk of life from Las Vegas, and my friends that I met in Paris, and my
Yeah.
Grammy winning jazz singer girlfriend Dee Dee. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I got all these folks that I haven't even exposed that, because I'm still right here, because the conversations here, it was like this was more important than the music.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's
I'm
put
honored
me,
though. I'm
So,
honored, like, to even be a part of, the equation. So
hey,
thank
look,
you.
you had to tell me something that I didn't know. And when I read your bio, and I said Bingham Fellow, because I looked up something. I started to join something this year, and I'm saying, do I have the time? Because it was like certain days, certain weeks, and I'm like, I'm semi-retired, but always plate is full.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying, do I want to make this kind of commitment? It would have been great during COVID, because
right,
then I'm stuck in the house.
right.
And then I'm where I needed to be. But then I was just starting to develop the show. But I'm going. I really, that's something that I really want to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it will be there. So
yeah,
just get informed, and if you feel it, if it speaks to your heart, you got to go with that.
yeah, yeah. And then I know, but I want to. When I make a commitment, I have to make sure that I can live up to that commitment.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So tell me about. You said you're going out of the country, and I'm going out of the country in a minute. Uh, how does that broaden your horizon, your view of the world when you get to travel? Tell me some places that you've been.
Yeah. So like the world becomes small to me. Like
Mustard seed.
oh goodness, it is interesting because like my last trip well, not my last trip. So I went to Paris two times in 2018, and that was a really cool experience because I was with my girlfriend and my daughter, and we rented a car. So I don't know how to. I can't read the signs, but due to technology, we had the Waze app.
Right.
So I'm
Okay.
driving around Paris, in this nice little vehicle.
Yeah.
It's tiny, and we go see the Eiffel Tower, and we take our daughter, we surprise her with she wakes up at Disneyland Paris, and then when
Okay.
we go to the Eiffel Tower, we have fun. So I have my phone and I have a speaker. So I'm playing. At the time, it was the Drake "Kiki, Do You Love Me?" It's the "In My Feelings" challenge.
Okay.
So we're on the Eiffel Tower, and my daughter's 9 years old, and I'm looking like just this madman playing this music, walking around, essentially waiting to see who it catches. Because I'm like, this
Right.
song is so hot, like somebody's gonna dance to it. So I'm literally with this like speaker, holding it just like, say if I'm like holding like this,
Right.
walking around, and surely enough, it was a couple from Boston. They said, "Is that the Drake? Is that the Shiggy?" I said, "You gonna hit it?" And they hit it, and we all are dancing. So then my daughter gets the opportunity to dance on top of the Eiffel Tower at 9 years old. And so that's just one example, right?
Yeah.
The greatest travel was going to Israel, being a part of going to Tel Aviv, going to, doing the reenactment of the baptism in the Jordan River,
Wow.
swimming in the Dead Sea. I didn't know it was buoyant. Like I didn't know. Like it was like you can't drown. And it's like these type of experiences and these exchanges, or going to Amsterdam when I'm by myself, and I'm just seeing how many beautiful people are riding their bikes
Bikes
on the
everywhere.
waterway. Like, oh, it was just
I went to Amsterdam by myself.
there you go. And I
I,
took
I
a
had
bus. That
I
last
had
time
some
I took a
friends that told
bus.
me about some
Yeah,
brothers that owned a Airbnb, a bed and breakfast. No, it wasn't Airbnb then. A
yeah,
bed and breakfast, and uh, I stayed there. But I had no qualms about walking about. And there was one guy that was a friend of a friend, so he took me out. Naturally, I walked through the red light district. I wanted
yeah,
to see what was going on over there.
yeah,
We went to the coffee shop.
yeah.
So that was when you said, I listen, I do comparative things. Like I went, I saw the French Riviera the first time by myself. I'm singing down in
That's
Cannes.
awesome.
And
Yeah,
I walk on the veranda and I'm saying, man, that's the French Riviera. And I'm by myself.
Yeah.
But I gotta take the moment in, because no telling if I get to go back, but I'll be going back shortly in a couple of weeks.
No, and that's it right there because and thank you for connecting to that point and sharing in that because like even for me when I'm thinking of it when I take the bus from Amsterdam to Paris, it just reminded me of when I used to take the mega bus and the Greyhounds back when I
Right,
was younger. It was the
right.
same process. So I just looked it up on the app, and I just went. And even in Amsterdam, going to the coffee shop, my grandfather had just recently passed that day, and I'm named after my grandfather. So
Mm.
it was one of those moments where like my family was like, "Hey, what are you going to like contribute to the obituary?" And everyone's writing their letter. I wrote my letter to my grandfather in a coffee shop in Amsterdam.
Oh,
And I
wow.
would never forget that. And it's like
No,
those
you won't.
moments, like
Wow.
these are the things that like when when I think about travel, I just think about how interconnected we are as people,
Very much so.
and they have travel has afforded me so many opportunities to just connect with very special human beings, and then tap into a source of creativity within me that I may not just simply exude if I'm doing a day to day working to pay these bills,
Right, right.
So
Let
that's
me
how I
ask
feel
you
about it.
something. The, you said you were in the tech field. Now there was a gentleman there. Now I don't know if and he does staffing.
Yeah.
So do you know Mr. Theron Mackey?
No, I don't, but I've heard the name for
Okay, now
sure.
he's got it's called CINQ Tech um, Staffing
Yeah, he was on your
Services.
show.
Yeah. So I'm thinking when you said that, I'm saying I wonder if he knows Theron, because
Mm-mm.
I know he's looking for people like you.
I at the minimum, I would love to just at the minimum connect with them.
Yeah.
I'm in a space of entrepreneurship right now, though, and so that's exactly why I'm going to Colombia
Okay.
in the upcoming weeks, just to kind of get these things launched. But I'm so about like meeting other minds, and then just at the minimum, like if he's been on your show, and if I'm on, like I think that I'm okay of as a person, but I feel like that he has to be a great human being to have made the show. So I would love to just at the minimum just like connect, and just get to know a little
Well,
bit more
because
about each other.
there's a commonality there,
Yeah, absolutely.
and I've got his number, and I'll hook you up, and I'll let him know I'm hooking him up with you,
Oh yeah.
because that's what we have to help each other keep moving the needle.
Hmm. That's
And
it.
I just want to say I think you're a lovely young man.
No, thank you. I appreciate you. It takes a village, though. Let me tell you,
Oh
like
yeah, you
a whole lot of people help mold this
oh
to
yeah,
whatever this
yeah.
product is right here, and I still got a lot of work to do.
That's a whole nother show. A whole another show. But and the commonality, the thing that we have in common also is that the love and the nurturing that we got at KSU,
Absolutely.
and that whole HBCU experience that you can't explain it,
Nah,
and I
you
tell
can't.
people I have my measuring sticks. My first one is my 4 years at Kentucky State.
Hmm.
And then I do my 5 years living in Paris. I guess I have to say my those other 35 years living in Las Vegas, because that's where I grew. That's where I became an adult, really. Um, and then my now 12 years of marriage, because I didn't get married until I got finished ripping and running, because I was,
Yeah,
you
you,
know,
yeah.
doing my
They
thing.
couldn't keep up though.
No,
They couldn't keep up.
and it was time for me to slow down. When I moved from Las Vegas, people said, "You moved from Las Vegas to Louisville?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Because I wasn't trying to stay up all night no more."
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? I wasn't. It used to be in Vegas, if you stayed up, if you were hanging out at night and having a good time, you didn't really have a good time unless you were coming out the club with your sunglasses on and see the sun come up in the morning. That's one of them all nighters. I
Yeah.
said I wasn't trying to do that anymore. So I kind of outgrew it. believe that or not, but I did. I kind of have group Vegas. But I just want to tell you that I thank you for letting me find out and get to know a lot more about Joe Franklin.
Thank you.
Um, I see bright lights. You are a bright light, and the attitude and the purpose, that you're filled with adventure and
Yeah,
creativity. So there's
that's
no
it.
telling what you're getting ready to do. I can't wait. So don't leave me out of the loop
Oh no, I
when
won't.
you
I'll
get
have
things
you right
off and
there.
running. Pardon? And you got to come back and tell it to the world.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then we can do a deeper dive on some of these other travels and experiences. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's I'm living life. I'm not just existing, and I'm blessed.
you're
And I
present.
and I'm yeah, and I'm enjoying this ride. So you know what? It's time to take it to the next level.
Do your thing. My blessings to you, my brother. Have a jet. It's dinner time, sweetie.
All
Go
right.
have your dinner. Bon appetit. Have a good evening. Have a fantastic evening, and we'll speak soon.
All right. You take care.
God bless you. Take care. All right. That was Mr. Joe Franklin. He went away so fast, but he's got things to do probably. It's just interesting to meet new people, you know, uh, that have different stories to tell. My friend Bruce Johnson told me to tell my story. And everyone needs to tell their story or have an opportunity at some point in time in life to tell their story. Because the life that we lead, we have no idea how long we're going to get to be here, how long we're going to stay, and you've got to be present to take it all in. And I would advise people to take it all in. Um, the aspect of traveling is very rewarding. It used to be a time that, coming from a city like Louisville, their travel was not as talked about or sought after adventure. We went to Cincinnati to the Cool Jazz Festival, and that was kind of it. That was the exposure or the desire. But once I think my mother must have. Well, I took a lot of train trips to Mississippi. I was going to a whole bunch of people's funerals. I asked one of my relatives. I said, "Whose funerals did I go to?" Because I remember being on a train a lot. But it's travel is a an experience that will make you feel stronger and freer within your own self. It will give you another sense of self that maybe has not been explored yet. I would recommend traveling. If you get a chance to go someplace that you've never been before, go. You might enjoy yourself. You might learn something. On that note, it's time for me to have dinner too. It's dinner time. Bon appetit. Before I leave, I need to share my screen with you. Uh, this is an event that's going to be happening this weekend. One of my guests that was on the show last week, Miss Karen Huff, is um, having the pre-derby brunch and mimosa rip the runway this Saturday, April 29th. I've invited some of my girlfriends to join me. If you're one of my girlfriends and you hear this show and you think you'd like to have something nice like this to do, this seems like this starts at 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Saturday, April 29th, which happens to be the day after my birthday. You know what I mean? Um, let me take that out. It's the day after my birthday. So I thought that would be fun to meet some girlfriends, a different eclectic group of girlfriends. They can meet new people, meeting each other. The common thread would be me, moi, c'est moi. So on that note, have a fantastic evening. Be safe. Enjoy yourself, and I will see you. This will play again on Friday at 7 p.m. And then we'll go into Derby week next week. So I'll be back with my Derby attire on next Monday, getting ready for all the festivities and the wonderful things that happen in our city during this festive time of the year. Bon appetit. Ciao.